Grab your popcorn, pour your drink of choice, and hit play. This is Pop, Pour, Play,
where we dive into shows you don't want to miss. I'm Kevin.
I'm Nichelle.
And welcome to our podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Pop, Pour, Play. I'm Nichelle. If you're new here, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And to all of you who have already subscribed, we greatly appreciate you. You are our day oneers.
Yes, and I'm Kevin. Today we are talking about Severance Season 2, Episode 10, the season finale. I've been waiting for this for so long, and it's here. Spoilers ahead if you're not ready.
Shut it down! Shut it off! Get out!
Before we talk about how we initially felt about the episode, what is in your cup?
Today, honestly, I wanted something fun, but I have to settle with some Pinot Grigio. Never fails.
You're not settling. It's all good. I took a stab at making myself a little Cosmo. As you can see, the glass is full, so I'm just going to put it right back down. But cheers to the season finale.
So I'm dying to know. Initial thoughts, what did you think?
I don't know if I'm going to be in the majority, but I'm okay to stand my ground. I was highly disappointed.
Okay.
In so many ways. I'm going to stop there.
I think I am probably on the other side of the coin. I think I can understand where you're coming from. The episode, I think the entire season I was asking for certain things, and
Yes.
This episode did give me that.
Right.
So I am thrilled in that sense. The way it ended, no. I was very, there's going to be a season 3. There has to. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes, I think that I feel like it was semi-confirmed by Ben Stiller that there was going to be a season 3. But
I'm not surprised if they do. Isn't it like the number one show on season 2 is like the most watched series on Apple TV, the platform?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
absolutely. I mean, it's a great show. I've been upset with other endings and season finales before. I think it was like, again, I've referenced Walking Dead multiple times, but when they didn't kill Negan off of there, I was highly disappointed. But I do agree with you when you say there were a lot of questions that we had answered, and I can't wait to talk about the things that we predicted and what we got right. So given this is the season finale, I thought it'd be great if we got another perspective. So I want to welcome my brother-in-law, who I also turned on to this show, Depot. So thank you for coming on and joining us.
What's going on?
Welcome. I'm agog at how well I can tell you're already fitting in.
So tell us, what was your initial thoughts of the season finale?
Season finale I thought was fantastic. I really, really thought it because I try to compare it to other shows that I really like, things like, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, those are, so you're trying to measure it against shows that are outstanding and how did those seasons end for different seasons. I thought this was kind of like up there, like for a new show out of the blue. They kind of like, it was just hitting me left, right. The first part was like, the conversation, Mark Iniaudi conversation, that was interesting. And the flip to the whole, I hate you, you hate me, let's fight kind of thing. That was crazy. And then choreography and merriment was just off the chain for me. I thought that was, I'll just stop right there. But that was crazy. So those two things kicked it off for me. Like, yeah, that was a good show.
Okay, so you guys are both, you really enjoyed it. Me, I was highly disappointed.
Wow.
So, yes, let's get into it because there's a lot to cover.
So compare it to second seasons and then you can have like a good measurement, right?
That's a good perspective. Yes, I was just thinking about the other ones that I was disappointed in, not thinking about the seasons and all of the buildup. But we'll get into why I'm feeling that way and definitely want to hear why you guys are feeling the way you are. Kevin kick us off.
I'll start off in the beginning just because this episode was really go, go, go. It didn't stop whatsoever. It was one crazy scene after the next. So at the beginning, I think the foreshadowing of the whole episode was the marching band and Mark's first day or last day of work. And he comes into the office. It's dark and there's an ominous Cure statue just standing in the office and he's working in the dark. And then the big bang, I guess, is really just, I loved what that scene meant to the episode.
Yeah. I would say that when you said going back to the beginning, I actually thought you were going to go back to the conversation between Mark's Innie and Audi at the cabins.
Oh, yeah.
And no worries. That was crazy and mind blowing to see. And I'm not going to say because I was disappointed that there weren't some enjoyable moments in the episode. And for me, I kept thinking about what is it? Like the split personality. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like what is the word I'm looking for? Disassociated identity disorder or something like that. I think is like the technical term for it. And so how, when you have these multiple personalities, how they're both trying to command the stage and whose life is more important than the others.
Right.
I just thought that was like a very, very dynamic kind of
it's almost like the Crowded Room a little bit.
Yes.
Where it was like,
yes.
Who's trying
have
to
you
win.
seen the Crowded Room, Deepa?
No, I have not seen the Crowded Room.
Such a good one.
Is that a movie?
And it's
is that a
also
movie or series?
On Apple TV. It's a mini series.
Okay.
So I don't think they're going to have multiple seasons. I think it just kind of had 6 episodes or maybe 8.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Series, I think is what it was.
Yeah. So what would you say, Deepa, one of your first kind of standout moments in the episode?
So the thing about that first scene in the Innie Audi debate, what I noticed was that it was Mark on both sides. Like Mark is an adamant kind of guy, right? He comes across as trying to be understanding and logical and calm, but then there's a switch in both his Innie and in Audi personalities. And so both Marks, Audi Mark and Innie Mark, were doing the nice dance of who Mark is. Let's try and understand, okay, I'll do this and I'll do that. And then it flipped and they both went crazy, especially the Innie Mark. Well, you want to save the woman you love. I want to save the woman I love. So, hey, I don't trust you. You don't trust me. And that was it. So that I thought was I think that was fantastic. I think if he's going to win an Emmy, he's going to win an Emmy off that. Just that scene itself, the back and forth. I thought that was really outstanding.
It kind of tied into what we were saying earlier on in one of the first episodes where it was like, who you are as a person, the way you're hardwired does not change. And it was interesting to see how it clashed because they're, at the end of the day, the same person.
The same person,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And when you said about the flipping the switch, I don't know if you guys caught this, but you remember when Mark's Audi, I'll say Mark S as the Innie, but Mark's Audi was at the Chinese food restaurant talking to Helena, and she brought up Gemma, but she called her another name, and it pissed him off.
Yes.
It kind of made that flip of the switch. Mm-hmm. And in this one, Mark called Mark S's, his Innie's girlfriend.
Helenie.
Yes.
Helenie, right. And then
Helenie.
That was it. That was that.
And you see a switch again,
It's Helly, actually. Helly. It's a person I'm in love with.
I was like, oh.
That's it. That's all it took. That's all it took. And then it was off to the races. Off to the races. And you could see that Mark, and then the way they transitioned that scene to Mark just being in the elevator and then the whole, the mural on the wall with all the characters and the whole Egan Care family tree standing on top, and then Mark being the preacher or prophet
Savior,
or something.
whatever. I don't
whatever
know.
he,
Something. I was trying to figure out that hand.
But everybody was in that picture. Because what I tried to look at that picture was, okay, are these just innies or outies? But it had everybody in that picture.
I missed that.
Oh, yes, it did. Then I'm like, oh, that's Devon. So is Devon, are they severed as well? Is Devon's husband severed as well? Why is he on the severed floor in the mural that everybody can see? It wasn't just for Mark. It was, so anyway, I was kind of like going crazy on that as well.
That picture was interesting. The whole, I think even you touched on this, Kevin, the whole like very theatrical, right, scene and setup to when they exited the elevator and then went to MDR, the weird
Ear statue.
The lighting, like it was just over the top. But before we kind of get into transition into the office, the actual like Lumon offices, what are you guys thinking about Miss Cobell, Harmony?
I paused for a second because I want to gloat a little bit because I think I was right in one of my predictions when she was saying,
"The numbers are your wife."
I was not surprised to hear that she said it was Gemma's tempers, because I think one of the questions I had was, why Mark? Why do they need Mark so bad? I get it, it's his wife, but obviously I think she said it was a doorway into her brain or her Audi's brain. And I felt so validated there. Curious to know what you have to say, Deepa.
I have a rebuttal to that a little bit where I think they may have made a mistake or what made me question that more, but I'm gonna hold my thought on that and let.
Yeah, okay. So I took some points there as well. She talked about the numbers are the building blocks of her mind, right?
Right.
And
every file you've completed is a new consciousness for her.
So when she talked about the tempers and all of that and it being the building blocks of her mind, one thing that this happened later in the episode that struck me is when Hellie was giving Mark the note, right, for the dark hallway, she was also looking at the computer and she said, because it was going to be his last box of numbers,
it's a happy one.
Now, how would she know? So then I was like, okay, this makes no sense now again. Because I was like, yes, the connection. It's Gemma. He knows Gemma. But then when Hellie comes over, she's like, good thing it's the happy ones. You don't know Gemma.
Well, do you know, is that Hellie? Is that Hellie?
Oh, don't go there yet. Don't go there yet, you guys. Don't go there yet. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's keep going.
I'm just saying, because one of the key things for me with Hellie and Helena is the walk. All I remember was the first scene of Hellie in the show was she came out the elevator.
That was it. Yep.
And then I'm like, okay, is this Hellie or Helena? Because I was watching her walk with Mark. And I kind of like, and it was from a distance. Tell. I couldn't tell.
That's right.
And I think it was on purpose. I kept thinking, who the heck is this? Because it wasn't clear to me if it was Hellie or if it was Helena. I see you, Kevin, trying to say something.
I was going to say, I thought I had the same like feeling when she walked out of the elevator. I just couldn't reconcile why she helped him so much throughout the episode. I think that's just kind of
okay. Yeah. Listen, we do not have to go in any particular order because this is giving some juicy vibes right now. Y'all are like getting into where I was like, I don't know, but go ahead.
So this is the thing that I caught out, that I resolved in my mind, because that was one of my unresolved, was there was at least, because you can take Irvin out, because Irvin wasn't shown at all. So,
right.
So, Dylan wrote a letter to his innie about you gotta stay. And so Dylan came back as Superman trying to block the door. So we got that, put that aside. So he reconciled, he's back in the fold. He's doing his it gave me echoes of when he was doing the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Yep, the
Same kind of thing he
OTC,
did in
right?
season 1. He was the one holding the, I can't remember what it was, but
The overtime contingency, the OTC.
So he was the main guy there. Okay, we talked about Mark Iniari conversation. Now, Helly and Helena. My resolution is, because we never really had a dialogue, it was Helena down there, and Helena her resolution was to not act like Helly, but to resolve it was her kind of way of having this her own internal and external battle. Like, I'm going to be my true self. So I think it was Helena downstairs. I don't think it was Helly.
So I think you're right to a degree. I don't think that it was Helena the whole time, which could be interesting.
Could be.
Unless she was mic'd and knew what her conversation with her father was and about the note, because I feel like Helly R was down there. I do feel like that. So I just want to back up a little bit, because another part that we didn't touch on was kind of earlier in the beginning was the conversation with the dad. And one of the things, Kevin, you said you felt validated in Miss Cobell and talking about the numbers and the consciousness of like Gemma, right? He said, and this is something that I was saying, and I'm sure many people knew this, that he was having, the father, James, was having children in the shadows.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that he was looking for Kier. And so to kind of your point around the Helena not being her true self, and also the balance of like Mark S's Innie and Outie being the same person, having those same kind of core traits and how they are. He did mention that he didn't love his daughter anymore because as she got older, he lost Kier, but he sees Kier in her Innie.
Man, I'm just holding myself back. Yeah, that was one of my big clues. But carry on. That was exactly the great point.
Yeah. So again, there's this whole thought: are you your Innie? I mean, essentially, and like we've talked many times, it's the same person. It's just different elements of the same people. And I kind of go back to Dylan's wife saying the same thing to him in the last episode. The reason she was falling for his Innie is because he reminds me of how you used to be.
Okay.
Right. It's almost like with Helly and Helena, it's almost like nature versus nurture, or nurture versus nature, where Helena has been raised by her father, and maybe things happen along the way, and you know her Kier light has been dimmed, and so like Helly has this like unfiltered way of being, and that's what he sees, which I found interesting too, because I thought Kier was all about taming your tempers and, you know, being this, you know, very, proper way of being. And just in that scene alone, she was very aggressive and, you know.
Exactly. She was about to stab the man with a pen.
Yeah. I kind of wish she did.
She stood like she was going to do. But also, going back to the mural, if you go back again and slow it down, look at the mural. At the top of the mountain was the whole Kier family tree.
Yes,
and you started
she
from
was
the
up there.
oldest, so you had the person in the middle of that whole thing was Helena. Or Helene or whatever. She was like almost the same, like she was like the new incarnation of Kier. She was the one that had the foremost, centermost kind of like position in
leading
the whole. She wasn't
family
to the side.
or leading.
Yes. So she was like right in the middle, right there. So that made me think, oh man, and at the end she had a look. Oh man, I can tell she had a look on her face that made me think.
Don't start me. Don't get me started there. Okay, so
I'm writing down a note because I have something to
see, like come in with it. Okay, I want to jump to Dylan really quick.
Okay.
We talked about this in the last episode, Kevin, around he quit, but it was like more ceremonial to allow him to fill out this form, because honestly, if the Outie tells him to go back, right? Yes,
you don't control squad as an enemy.
You don't, right? Exactly. But what was interesting was a note that his outie left, and I'm like, so you're okay with the open marriage? Is that what's happening? Are you going to take away Gretchen? Yeah, exactly. Like, are you going to take away Gretchen's visits? Or are you going to allow it? Like, I just thought that was really interesting. And to some point, he kind of saved the day, but
Yeah.
I think I said he was like the unsung hero, and he kind of maybe.
Maybe. He helped out.
There's a thread.
But also, this is the second time it's like him and Milkshake squaring off, but now he's got his homies from, choreography and merriment, backing him up, right? So.
All right. So I will say, though, now that we brought Milkshake into the mix, disappointed. So lackluster with him. He is. And the reason I'm disappointed because I really was hoping he'd come out on the good side of things, but he is a soldier through and through, and that's what I realized with this.
There was a moment where the statue said something wrong to him, and
man.
I was like, "Oh, is this the moment he snaps and says, you know what?"
Yes,
he was going to use some big devout feculence right there. I could tell.
Yeah.
Right? But help me out with this. At first, I was like, okay, I think it's scripted. But then they went off script, and it felt very much like, I was like, is there somebody talking for this robot? Or
I think there was.
Me off.
There was.
Yeah.
I think there was, and I think he wasn't having it. And like when the robot was talking some stuff, he was like, "You're my last thread here. If you say something wrong, we're about to give us some."
But even the way he looked, and he was like, "Thank you for the feedback." I was like,
"Yeah."
I was like, "This is barely creepy, creepy." Mm-hmm. But yeah, he just seemed like a soldier through and through in this scene or in this episode. And when in the end he saw like, the alarms were going off, something clearly went wrong. It's probably on his watch. And now he's like, he's even more angry and aggressive to get out of that bathroom.
But I think you missed the big part. The whole marching band part. He was the star of the show. I'm like,
yes.
What is Milkshake doing? All the moves he was doing, I'm like, this is like,
But it reminded me of
Lumon, university going on right here.
Yeah, but it reminded me in season 1 when he was the everything, right? When they had the 5 minute of enjoyment of the music or music listening, whatever, and he's doing all the
party or the MDE, the music dance experience.
Yes, the 5 minute music dance experience, bringing in the balloons. He's the entertainment. I think that's where he's comfortable, is like being that entertainment, being,
Even before that, just the theatrics of it all with the green lights behind the statue, the fog coming in.
Yes, like you were at a basketball game or something. There's a couple of scenes we haven't spoken about, which one is the goat sacrifice. The other is the battle royale with Mr. Drummond. The third would be going down back to the testing floor with Gemma and finally seeing Cold Harbor. So let's talk about those and how you guys felt about it. And then we'll shift into kind of our predictions in the end, because you guys already said something that I was like, yes, that's what I was thinking. So I don't want to jump too much ahead. So
what was that first scene that you called out?
Oh, the goat sacrifice.
Goat sacrifice.
Listen, I was happy to see, because I think last episode I was
kept saying, "Where's your goats?"
Answer on the goats. I need to know what the goats are for. They're hanging on to that one. I still don't. I feel a little confused, because I think they were saying, "Okay, it's a sacrifice," and I forget what Mr. Drummond said to Lorne, and he
said that
this beast will be entombed with a cherished woman, whose spirit it must guide to Kyr's door.
Oh, I think the goat and Gemma had some kind of, or Miss Casey had some kind of connection, but it never came to fruition, obviously. And then the goat and it feels like with the goat, it's happened many times.
Absolutely. So I think the goats, you wanted to know what the goats were for. It seems like they're being raised to be sacrificed.
Yes.
And I feel like they were going to kill that goat because she was very upset and said how many times and no more killing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I also felt like, who is this cherished woman? And they claim that Mark S., his innie, was going to go down in history for doing some of the greatest things, knowing he was no longer going to work there. So he technically was going to die too, his innie, right? Because they're not going to keep him on the severed floor. And I also thought maybe that cherished woman was Gemma, who's gone through all of this experiment. And I mean, you can't technically let her out in the world. It's kind of like, thank you, we've accomplished this, we've tested on you. Now you and the goat are going to be sacrificed because of the whole like the goat was going to be entombed with some cherished woman. So I don't know. I don't know if that's accurate, but I definitely think the goat was going to be killed. And that leads us into the hallway to the Royal Rumble.
I loved it.
It was great. It was great.
Let me tell you. So we talked about Game of Thrones before. Brianna Tarr. Yeah. That's what she was in Game of Thrones. She showed up.
Oh my gosh, that was now it clicks. That was her. That was Brienne. I was like, she looks familiar. Like, where the heck have I seen her before?
Yes. And she gave Drummond a run for his money.
Had no chance, but she was on the deep down.
Chance.
She was
boy.
Oh my God, I'm going to bring all the dragons with me on this one.
Exactly. It was, Mr. Drummond. When he was choking Mark, he looked so... He almost sounded animalistic.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like on another level of crazy. And it just shined through in that and how he was just like, we're done with you. So now I can really do
exactly
what
he was done at that point.
There's no consequence in his eyes.
Yeah.
There's because they don't even think they're human or
he was done at that point. And the way she saved the day for sure. Without her, that was, he was pretty much done.
He was done. And I will say that Emil's cameo, the goat, oh my gosh, he was so cute.
I'm glad
he was like doing his part.
Emil number 5, because I'm trying to use about 5 goats.
Yeah, he did his part. So let's get into that long hallway elevator. Y'all, when he said in a minute, I'm gonna change to my Audi. Oh, and because of like what happens, he pulled that trigger. That caught me so.
I killed him. Oh my God. He killed him. What happened? That was crazy.
Honestly, Mark S. the innie was a little foolish for thinking that he was just going to go in there and expect his Audi to know exactly what to do in that situation. Wake up. Who's this man? You know?
But then can you imagine you're in an elevator, you wake up and somebody's squirting blood all over your face and you're like,
no.
Man, yes, that was impressive. I love that he knew the doors started to mean like these files and he had heard Cold Harbor or he knew like those were probably like look at each of the doors and find her. Man, yeah.
You know, one of the things I did like about, just from a directing perspective, was how Mr. Drummond, the way he fell in the elevator, kept the elevator open. So that was just so smart, because I knew there was gonna be a callback to that somehow, because the elevator couldn't close. So the way he fell was like, okay, keep opening and closing kind of thing.
Yep.
So I thought, oh, that's pretty smart. Fall this way, and just let my legs be nicely convenient. Just hold it as a doorstop of the elevator. Perfect.
Exactly.
I have a question. Because this entire episode, it made it seem like everyone that worked on these floors, there's only like 5 of them at the end of the day. You know, like there's only 5 of them. No one saw him on the floor. I can get the holes are all over, but like not a single person.
Remember, these hallways go forever, right? So they could be away, who knows where. I don't know.
Kevin, that question you have has been bothering me for the past. I like, for as rich and as powerful, as global as you are, you've got like 2 people, 3 people.
Right.
Well, where
right.
all your
But they used to have
cameras?
maybe.
They used to have cameras everywhere. I'm like, surely you have a camera in this hallway.
So nobody's
pointing
watching
to
Mark run around the corridors and everywhere? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? How many people are doing this?
Or maybe they were so focused on the Cold Harbor
On Gemma.
and getting Jame in some little box closet to like watch her take apart this crib.
For what? And then like just hiding. I'm like, this is crazy to me. Like, you guys, this is what, rich on a budget? What are we doing here? I'm like, so I couldn't figure out. I couldn't figure out what Jane was watching.
I think the fact that they put her back in the clothes that she disappeared in, and the baby thing again, they were trying to have a child. We still don't know if she actually did have a baby or not. Maybe they're trying to see if she remembers having a baby, because they've had her for a while, right? So we don't know. So maybe there's something there, but I was just like, when Cold Harbor, when the door opened and it was just the crib for her to take apart, I was really kind of looking forward when they gave her the clothes, like putting her back in the car, or the day that she apparently got into this accident. Like, what we've talked about before. And it was kind of lackluster that it was just, who are you? Well,
that's a good question, because it goes back to what Cobell said to Mark. Innies are attuned to specific spaces. And for what we've seen for the Gemma episode, each space she got in, she had a name, she had a role,
right?
She was doing something,
right?
In this particular one, she had no name.
She didn't. Yes,
she didn't have a name. She showed up and take the crib apart, kind of thing.
Right.
So
right.
she was attuned to this space with no name. For what reason? To take the crib apart, and then what will kill you? And so I think introduction of Mark S, or Mark, the Audi Mark, into this space, I think messed up the entire, the whole thing, the whole dynamic was blown.
Yep. And I loved it. And Kevin, you got what you wanted, was for them to see each other and know that they were alive. So once she stepped in the hallway out of the room, they were again Mark and Gemma
for like 2 seconds.
Listen,
I know. We got to take what we could get.
I thought it was genius the way they put the scenes where he got to see her, and I think they talked about this after the episode a little bit, where he got to see her. She didn't recognize him.
Right.
Then they recognized each other out in the hallway.
Right.
But then they go upstairs and Mark S, and it's Miss Casey.
Right.
And they're together.
And that's a different dynamic.
At the end,
yes.
And then at
she
the end,
sees
it's Gemma
him.
looking in.
Yes. I love all of that.
It was genius.
It was genius. Yeah.
All four.
It was beautiful
aspects. Exactly. Now, I think that was very, very smart.
I love that a lot. Okay, so now that leads us. We can do it. We can dive into the predictions.
Okay.
And can I just start, because you both had talked about Helena and Hellie R, and this is my prediction. Hellie R went down there, and what I'm thinking is maybe when things were going awry, their backup was either to do the Glasgow block or somehow turn the switch on for, or maybe they could just turn on the switch for Helena to appear.
Okay.
To now keep them from being together. For whatever reason that is, like they got Gemma out, but now you have Helena who ran down the hall and said Mark to see if he would come back to her, because she knows the dynamic between him and Hellie R. And she's the one who looked back. What was interesting is that when she looked back, it was like this scarlet color, and it was like both defiance and kind of alluded to some type of evil master kind of plan that I don't know. I was just like, I kept looking at that shot. I actually had to rewind and pause, and just the look on her face.
Oh, that was great.
It didn't feel like Heliar. And the fact that it was perfectly in that like scarlet red, and I know that was from the alarms going off, but I think that really played to like this kind of sinister backup plan that they had.
So what do you think is the plan then, right? So Gemma's outside.
Yeah.
And
she might be.
Helena,
I mean, she's in the stairway. She didn't leave the parking lot yet. So we don't know how far she gets. She's not familiar with
the surroundings. And she's not familiar. She's
not familiar. We don't know how far she got. But we know that they have Mark, and they know that she loves Mark.
But hold on a second. How did Mark even get to Lumon? So Cobell and Devon didn't let him go by himself. So they might be outside.
That's true.
He didn't just show up there. Remember, they took him from the birthing
That's
place.
Right. That's right. You're right. That's a great call out.
Right. So I suspect that Cobell, if she ends up going outside, she's going to bump into Devon and Cobell. If she does that. That would be my thought on that.
Yeah. But they haven't, they're not running into the sunset, right? They were still able to, I don't know what they would use Mark for, but the fact that you guys aren't going to just run off in the sunset, you destroyed what we were trying to create and build. And so I think there's kind of this retaliation of sorts.
Well, the way he says you destroyed, if Helena is really the reincarnation of Care, I think she's more powerful than her father. I think her father might be CEO, and I think Helena might be the one calling a lot of the big shots. So, and if she slept with Mark, Amy, and Audi, so she's got something for
You're
Mark.
Right.
Right? Which however you slice it. So she might want Mark or to be alive for some reason.
You're right.
Ooh. All right. You guys just let me throw something at you.
Yes.
We know reintegration is possible. Mm-hmm. We know that James thinks Hellie has the Kier, spirit in her.
Right.
Is there a world where they can now reintegrate the two? So is it possible that she was reintegrated in that scene? So it's both of them, essentially. So Helena is still running the show, but she has the memories of Hellie and that experience of Hellie and how to tap into that.
I mean, everything's possible.
That would be incredible to have like a reintegrated Mark and a reintegrated Hellie running around in Lumon. Now I'm like, okay, I don't even know what that would be like. That would be crazy though.
Yeah.
We'll
see.
Yeah, but I do believe with you both that Helena was down there at some point. Whether she was there the whole time or she was there at the end, I feel like she was down there.
To me, when she was standing at the end of the corridor and Gemma was saying, Mark, or whatever.
That's what, yes.
To me, I think that was Helena. And she had this look of like, I won kind of thing. I was able to get Mark from this undying love thing.
Yes.
And I got it, right? She had that look of, I won kind of thing. And that was a Helena look. That wasn't a Hellie look.
No, I totally agreed with that. I said there's something wrong with this because you helped him and now you're coming to do what? You just said Mark. You weren't like goodbye or go or get out of here.
Like you were waiting
just
for him
Mark.
to come. Exactly.
She knew what she was doing.
It almost proved the final thing that the Innie world, the Innies are completely different people than the Audis. They have their own autonomous decision making, and so they can decide for themselves what they want to do. And he decided, and he said it in the conversation. I love one prediction I have is that Gemma now is going to be reversed. So Gemma, I think in next season, Gemma's on the outside. It's going to be like a Dylan and his wife situation. Gemma's going to be like, what the heck is going on with you? He's going to come out as an Audi and love her, but go back as an Innie.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to let him out. If they, think it's...
Yeah. So then what's the purpose of him? So I got a couple of things here, and this is kind of going back to why I wasn't as happy as I would like to be. Of course, I'm not a fan of Helly or Helly R, really. So that was like the ending, that of course that would make me upset. But it's the, I don't know, kind of like the stupidity behind it. It's not logical for you to think you're going to stay on the severed floor with Helly R. Even Cobell told you about this. But I think it comes to like that basic instinct of survival and anything, right? Any living thing, the basic thing is like you want to survive, you want to live. So I get that, but I just thought he was smarter and more logical than that, to know what are you guys going to do, run around the severed floor and hide in a room and where you
going?
Where you going? What is this running happily? What is this?
But it's funny.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's funny because I had a thought of like, is there a world, because they got the entire, what did they call the marching band, the
choreography and merriment,
right?
CNN, choreography and merriment.
So they were able to get the entire group of them turned against Milchek, and it almost felt like they were rebelling, because I think one of the things that turned them was they're just going to shut us off. They're going to shut us down like we're animals.
Yes.
I almost like got the impression that, are they going to try to like, band together and never leave? Because we know there's grass down there. They were raising goats. They could figure it out.
Right.
Is there a possibility that they're just going to try to stay on the severed floor?
I mean,
and fight whoever comes down that elevator.
That's all they can do, because once they leave, they're not themselves. Like, this is where I'm like, this is.
I don't think it's realistic. There's too much money in the Lumon world.
Right.
They'll figure something out, but
what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Squid Games in season 2. When they wanted to go up against a man.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you don't have enough manpower. You know what I mean? Yeah. We knew from the outside looking in, they were infiltrated by an insider, like, the man. And that's how we feel about either Heliar or Helena. And so I'm just like, this just doesn't make sense. But I think it goes back to what Deepo, you had said this about them having their own mind and feeling like they've been controlled for so long. This is the time they get to think autonomously, like they can make their own decisions, even if it's short-lived. You know what I mean? It's like, we did what we wanted,
even if it's in this artificial world, that this sense of control, like you can only control a consciousness to a point. Before that consciousness starts to exert its own independence.
That's right.
Right. So it's funny, right? You sever because, in Mark's case, he was trying to protect his Audi from the pain. And Dylan was maybe feeling melancholy and he couldn't get his life together, needs a job. So you have all these feelings. So I'm going to create an innie to really separate. But what the second season has shown is that over time, the innie starts to get the same feelings again, right?
Exactly.
So if it's like you want to separate, you're going to fall in love and have pain, like with Dylan.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you're going to have the feeling of rejection. And then if you're Mark, you're going to fall in love and Hallie's going to be taken away from you. So whichever consciousness you prefer, innie, outie, you can't escape the four tempers. You can't escape. You can't escape emotions.
No.
Right. It's the inevitability of the world, and that's the difference. Is like their innies are newborns, and everything is, first time is exciting, experiment, right? And then the reason why. That's why a lot of people are saying, "Oh, I see them in you, and you used to be like that when you were young, and then life started lifing, and you get disappointed, and you have pain, and all these other things that." It's gonna come full circle if they continue to live in these lives as innies and create these relationships with these other people and things like that.
Hence the experiment of 25 consciousnesses, which is why
you can easily switch them up and disconnect them
and keep making another one and keep making another one.
That's
and keep making another one. because
good point.
because Lumon has figured out that if you just have 1-1, that other one is gonna
come right back.
come right back to the same thing. But if you have 25 of them, it's gonna take maybe a century for them to really really develop. And as one consciousness grows up, you can kill it, shut it off, move to the next one or something. I don't know. So hence the different rooms, I guess.
You guys are touching on my prediction a little bit too, because I was like, obviously they're just able to like reset the chip and they can just start fresh and keep the same person there. The rooms, I was trying to figure out that last room, Cold Harbor, because it was her clothes, it was a crib, and they were trying to. I think we talked about it a few episodes ago, or the Gemma episode, where we got to see the rooms for the first time. They were obviously testing her and testing the chip. They're putting her in these crazy scenarios so that when she comes out, she just feels the emotion or like, I'm tired after being in that room, but I can't remember anything. So it's their way of making sure that Gemma herself can't remember what she did into that room.
Right.
Now it's like, let me put you in a situation where it's very familiar and let's see if that breaks the chip. Because I think that's really all that they're trying to do is make sure that there's truly no bleed over.
Yep.
And I think that's what that final test was.
And I remember him saying that doctor or dentist or whatever he was, he said,
The barrier is holding.
I know we can talk forever because there's a lot to this, and I'm still sticking by it. I was upset with some of the direction they went, but looking ahead to season 3, which there is not to my knowledge has been a release date, but I do believe there's going to be a season 3. What are your theories, or what are you hoping to get? I think there was a lot of things for me I didn't get. Cobell, I still don't know what her intentions are and why she was so involved in getting this book. I can understand because she wants to show, but then her helping Mark to get Jim out, like I still don't understand what's in it for her, and I know there's got to be something in it for her. Helena trying to keep Mark on the severed floor, or are they going to then test him? Are they going to start putting him on the testing floor? Dylan, again, is this going to be a throuple? Is this going to be there's 90 Day Fiance I watch, and it's called The Last Resort, and they call it a ethical non-monogamous marriage. So is that what's going to be happening with the family visits and stuff? Yeah, I don't know. Milchek, I don't think they're going to kill him. They'll probably just tie him up somewhere and try to take over the floor for a little while. Who knows? And then Irving, I feel like Irving's going to leave with like, I got all of the details and the information, and he's going to bring people back to shut it down. I don't know, but those are my thoughts.
I feel like Cobell may have switched sides. Maybe not for the intentions that we may be thinking. I think she's just truly pissed off at Lumon, the company. It's her idea at the end of the day. She created the chip. I think she wants credit. And if she has to burn it down to get it, she's going to do that. Maybe not. I don't know. I really hope in the new season, I just need Mark and Gemma just to be outside together. I have a feeling it's going to be Gemma trying to get Mark out now. Because I do think he's going to end up on the testing floor. I don't think they're going to let him out that easily. I think it would be foolish of them. If I were a bad company, I wouldn't let him out to go home for the night and expect him to come back the next day.
Yeah, for sure.
I just don't know that that's going to go over so well, knowing that Gemma's outside. Devin knows what's going on.
Yeah. And they might have to work quick because they could also do the OTC on Gemma, right?
True. Oh, she has a chip. She has a chip.
Everybody has a chip. Nobody gets the chip out.
Honestly, Depot, the fact that you pointed out that Devin was in the painting has me all confused because now I'm worried that there are people that are severed outside that we just
don't know it. And what if they don't know?
Exactly. Because
what if Devin went to the fertility clinic? We don't even. There's a lot we just don't know.
And so
yeah.
So my expectation is that the world is going to increase. I think with shows like this,
yes.
I think with shows like this, the world always has to expand. I just go with the Walking Dead model or the break. The world cannot. It's too good a show to have a small world. Now we have to introduce
Yes.
other, and so this is the smart thing. So at the end of the previous season, they killed the first security guy, and so now this season they
Right.
killed Drummond. So we got to get a
Right.
security guy come back. We got to get, and then also we
Right.
got to get another big security guy. And then Miss Wang, what's her story? She's got to come in somewhere. I think so. My expectation for season 3 is in the first couple of episodes, they're going to want to tell us about Irvin because he had no part to play in the end of the season. So they're quickly
Right.
they're going to show us a couple of things. Okay, what did he do? Did he come back? Where did he go? Blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to do that to keep us like, okay. And then they're going to quickly or slowly transition into there's a bigger world here. Like, even if you think about Lost, there's always another world. Like, who the heck is there? Who else is on this island? And I think either we're going to find a new world in the Lumon building, so more places down, different corridors and whatever, or a
More
new
floors,
world
yeah.
outside.
Right.
So they're going to start. I think that's where I think that's my expectation. A new world of some sort.
I need to ask Kevin because you had a big like aha moment in the background. I'm trying to figure out what that was about.
One of my unanswered questions in the intro scene, there's that baby, and I was like, there's someone pregnant in this.
Yeah,
and
yes.
we were talking about, is it
Right.
Gemma? Is it Hellie? Because we know Mark and her spent a night together, or two
Yep.
nights, I forget. And we didn't get that, feedback that I was hoping for. And then you said Devin, we know she had a baby. We don't know if she went to that fertility clinic. Is that a Kier baby? And we just don't know it. And maybe that's the connection.
I also took from that it could be the dad who was having babies in the shadows trying to find Kier. So it just could be we're going to find out more.
It could be James Baby. Yeah.
It could be James.
Oh yes. Also, hear this. They went to the Mark and Gemma went to a fertility clinic, and that doctor was at the fertility clinic. What if all those women were inseminated with James?
We talked about that. Yes, that's what I think. In the shadows. That's
in the
exactly.
shadows.
Yep, in the shadows.
So he has all these babies all over. Wow, we can keep going forever, man.
I'm telling you guys. I thank you so much, Depot, for joining us on this episode.
Yes.
This has been great. You guys made me feel a little bit happier about the season finale, but I'm still pretty disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, no, we could again go on forever. So we'll have to wait and find out what happens in season 3. But before we actually close out, I do want to say to all of the subscribers that this is Kevin's last show as kind of a full-time person on the podcast. So we're hoping he'll be back to visit us again on some great TV talk.
Season 3 for sure.
Exactly. So definitely want to say thank you, appreciate you, and you guys can expect more great shows from myself and more special guests. And again, thank you, Depot. If you haven't already, please like or subscribe.
Thank you for having me.
Do it now.
Great.